Hi guys, my name is Lindsay. I am an American English teacher, and today I'm going to teach you different ways to learn any language. Let's go. The first way to learn a language is with the great institution of YouTube. Watch YouTube videos, of course, about English. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, but also watch videos in your goal language about a topic that's interesting to you. Maybe it's tennis, maybe it's computer games, maybe it's, I don't know, cats. Watch any video on YouTube just for the language. You don't need to understand every word that they're saying. You just need to understand the basic concept, and your brain will start to create these channels of trying to understand the language. And this is passive learning, and it's very important. So you can watch it with subtitles. If you hear an interesting word, you can look it up in the dictionary. We will talk about that a little bit later. The second way to learn any language is to listen to music in your target language that you like, that you are interested in. Any music. It can be rap, rock, I don't know, pop, any music, country, western, anything. The key in listening to music is trying to understand what the singer is singing about. So read the lyrics and try to understand the concept. Not translate every word, but understand on a bigger scale. And this will also lead your brain to start to think in this target language instead of trying to translate from your language to your target language. You want to retrain your brain to think in that language. When you listen to music, for example, in English, and you find a song that you like, try to sing that song. Look up the lyrics and try to sing along to the song, not one time, not two times, but like 100 times, a lot of times. And this way you will memorize some, not words, but phrases. And then you can use these phrases. You can change the words. So you can use the phrases from a song as a template to speak. So this way you're not just learning words, but phrases. You're learning idioms. You're learning phrasal verbs. You're learning grammar. It's very useful. When you are watching movies at home, watch them in English with subtitles. In English, not in your language. If you watch them in English, and maybe you might understand 10 or 20% of what they're saying, you are training your brain to try to understand. And when you see a new word that you want to understand, look it up in a dictionary, not in Translate. Try to understand the meaning of the word in that language, not in your own language. If you learn the meaning of a word in that language, for example, if you learn a new English word in English explanation in the dictionary with English examples, your brain is much more likely to remember it later. You won't forget it so easily. If you learn a word and then learn it in your language, you won't remember it 1 week later because your brain knows that word. And here is another word that means that, but you will forget it because your brain only needs one version of this word. But if you're training your brain to think in a different way, you have set like new channels in your brain. It's very cool. Create an English or any linguistic atmosphere in your home. What do I mean by that? Take notes, little post-it notes, and write everything in your house on those post-it notes and put them all over your house. So if you, for example, see on our Instagram 10 things in the kitchen. You can see microwave, oven, refrigerator. Write it down on a piece of paper and stick it onto that object. Stick the word refrigerator onto the refrigerator. And every time you go to get some milk or whatever from the refrigerator, you're seeing that word and making a connection, a physical connection with that object. And that's another good way to help your brain to learn that word, not even studying, you're just living. And I mean in every room, in the bathroom, in your bedroom, in your office, in the kitchen, living room, every object, put a sticky note on that object and learn how to say it in that language. Try to find somebody to speak with in that language. It can be your teacher, it can be your friend, your roommate. You can go on some websites and find people to talk with for free. Practice speaking and practice using your new words and listening to other people, listening to the words they say, asking what that word means. It's very important to speak, to practice as much as you can. Practice as much as possible, because this is, I think, the fastest way to learn a language, from actively speaking a lot and listening a lot. Listening you can get from YouTube, from movies, from music, but speaking, it's very important. You can speak to yourself. I speak to myself in Russian all the time. When I think in English, I try to translate it into Russian, and I usually do that out loud because I want to see if I can pronounce that. So I think even if you speak to yourself, I mean, maybe not in the subway or in the bus, but at home, speak to yourself in a foreign language. It's cool and it's easy and it's free. Or find a friend, or find a language club in your city that practices once a week, and go and practice. It's important. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. Mistakes are like the best thing for a language teacher, because a mistake is an opportunity to improve. A mistake is a chance to make your language better, to grow. You just have to use those mistakes. If somebody tells you that's not correct, say, how is the correct way to say that? And then you need to remember that. Use that mistake to grow. Use that mistake to learn, and maybe write it down. That's another really good point. Get a language book that's just pages like this, or on your phone. You can just use your notes on your phone, and anytime you hear a new word in maybe a movie or a song or with your speaking partner, write it down. I like to physically write things down, because something about your brain makes a connection with your hand when you physically write something with paper and a pen. So I really recommend that. But if you don't have time, use your phone. But write down words that you hear in your target language, and when you're thinking or speaking in your native language and you think, how would this word pine tree be in Spanish? I don't know. Let me write it down and try to find out later. And later, you should have a list of maybe 10-15 words, and you can study on your own with words that you personally want to know in that language, and write it down. And here is one really important thing to do. You write down the word. You write it down in your language and in your target language. Cool. You write it down in the target language and with the definition in the target language. Even better. Write down 2 or 3 examples with that word and remember them, so you can have an association in your brain. Okay, pine tree in Spanish is this. I saw a pine tree when I went to the park. Write it in that language. And then write another one. Pine trees have pine cones. And then you'll learn a new word, and continue to make examples, and that way it will further put it in your brain, and you are more likely to remember it later. Writing is a really important thing here. So today we talked about many different ways to learn any language. Personally, from my experience, both as a learner of a second language and as a teacher. Use these in your daily life to improve your perception of the language. It will improve later in your understanding of the language, and you might even start to think in your target language if you continue on this process. This is my personal process to learn a foreign language, and I really hope it works for you. Write in the comments below what's your favorite song or movie in your target language, and what has personally helped you learn a foreign language. See you guys next time. Bye guys.